Okay, we're in another house here, and it's starting to rain harder today. But I want you to know this house is completely in the ground. All of these plants are in the ground. There's no containers in this house. Now, we planted these tomatoes February the 23rd. Today is April the 25th, 2 months and 2 days from the time we put them in the ground. Now, the reason they're different heights in different rows is because they're different varieties. This is a early dial row right here. I think this is a row of Celebrity, and there's some Sun Leapers, there's Sun Masters, there's early girls. So there's different varieties in this house, but I just wanted you to see what these look like growing in the ground. It's got a stake and weave on it now, is the way we tie them up with the string on the stakes. And you might notice these rails up here at the top. And the reason we put this in like this is because 4 years ago on February the 20th, we put our tomatoes in the ground, and on March the 5th, the weatherman said it's getting down to 16 degrees and we'd have a foot of snow. So we came in with, remember the tomato plants are only 6 or 8 inches tall, and we put a piece of used plastic up over this string and down to the ground. Then we put another piece, which was about 10 foot from here up over this and back to the ground. So that made us one little cover, 2 covers, and the top cover would be 3 covers. Every cover is worth about 8 degrees to you. So if you had 3 covers on, 3/8 is 24. It gets down to 16 degrees outside. 16 and 24, that would be 40. I had a thermometer in the ground at the north end of this row, and the 42 degrees is cold as I ever caught it under that bottom sheet. We made it through that 16 degree weather, never lost a tomato plant. A couple days later, when it warmed up, the snow melted, we took this top layer over and laid it here into 4. Then we left this bottom sheet on for about another 3 weeks because we were having a little cool weather at night, but it's not freezing. So we left it on there for another 3 weeks. I got to noticing some blooms coming on the plants. We pulled that cover over, and we had the prettiest tomato plants about 14 inches tall that was round, blooms on them, ready for the bees to start pollinating. So that's what we're trying to learn, how low we can go with these tomatoes and not have to use any heat, because that takes the profit out of your plants, out of your food, whenever you start having to use natural gas or electricity. We use no electricity and no gas in these houses. We have set the barrels around the perimeter of the house on the inside. We fill them with water, and the reason for that is, as it warms up, the sun warms them up, the water will get up, you know, to maybe 50, 55 degrees in there. Well, that doesn't seem like it'd be much heat, but when the temperature gets back down to around freezing, guess what? 50-degree water feels pretty good, and it'll help maintain your heat in your house. Now, we were mentioning in another house about the ground cover to keep the weeds from growing. My favorite way to use ground cover is put these rows on 50 inches apart and use 4-foot ground cover in between them. Now, this is about 6 foot, but remember, these rows were set up 25 years ago when I was doing hanging baskets, and so they wasn't set right on 50 inches. But if you're going to build you a new high tunnel, put your rows at 50 inches, use 4-foot ground cover in between them. There's no soil that can be showing out from under the tomato that can grow any weeds, and it's a lot better easier to maintain. We get into another house, I'm going to show you what happens if we didn't have the ground cover down. It would be a solid grass.